Okay, there is comment. The woman, the church, gives birth to a man child, Jesus, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Okay, this is the version of Paul Begley that in Revelation 12 it's really talking about the bride, the church, of the group of the believer, and the man child is Jesus, and so you got also the dragon. Okay, this is the same version than Paul Begley, and okay, Nosh Eples is trying to find the truth, and there are many versions, and he's trying to find the truth, so I'm just trying to give him my interpretation, my point of view, because this is really the interpretation of Paul Begley's preaching. The woman, the church, gave birth to a man child, Jesus, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Then the child, because Paul Begley is saying the exact same thing, that this wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, is the bride, the church, and the man child is not the Antichrist but Jesus. What I'm saying is that it's the false trinity of Satan. Satan disguised as a woman clothed with the sun and the moon on her feet. The man child is the Antichrist of the past, and the other wonder is a red dragon. So it's like Satan copying the Trinity but in a wicked way. Then the child is caught up to God and his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness, a place prepared by God. So the argument is, if this child is the Antichrist as you're teaching, talking about myself, would God bring the Antichrist up to his throne? So that's a good argument. I'm going to try to answer it, because it's really saying that this man child is caught up to God and his throne. So it's relevant that it's really the throne of God. So if I'm saying it's the Antichrist, then it would mean that he is caught up to God and his throne. So this is a good argument. I answered the use of this punctuation that I don't even know what is the name of it in English. The two dots, one on top of each other. I'm going to try to enlarge it so you see it better. Okay, because of the screen capture, you don't see it all, but the use of the two dots here, there. A man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. You see the two dots there. And her child was caught up unto God. As you see, I have not put the beginning of the sentence, because if you look at the full verse, it's saying, and she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. So this part here, I have not put it on purpose, because I have not put this part, and she brought forth. Look, before this part that was here, I have not put it. The reason is that this wonder in heaven is not the woman who brought forth this particular man child at this particular time. We know Jesus was born of Virgin Mary, and she wasn't a wonder in heaven. Do you see the point here? The church, if it's really the woman is the church, it's not the church that gives birth to a man child, Jesus. Actually, it's Jesus that gave birth to the church, because the church, the believer, were not believer of Jesus before Jesus. It's after Jesus that there was the believer of Jesus. Do you follow? Not the opposite. What he's saying is that the woman, the church, the group of the believer, gives birth to a man child, Jesus. It's the opposite. This is the first thing. Jesus gave birth to the believer, because it's after Jesus that people began to believe in. And the second thing is that a Virgin Mary gave birth to Jesus. It was the vessel through her that God came into the world. It was not a wonder. And when it's in the Revelation 12 context, it's really saying that it's a great wonder appearing in heaven. It's not a human the Virgin Mary anymore. It's saying it's a great wonder in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Just to resume again his argument. The woman, the church, gives birth to a man-child, Jesus, who was to rule nation with a rod of iron. Then the child is caught up to God and his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness, a place prepared by God. The argument: if this child is the Antichrist as you're teaching, would God bring the Antichrist up to his throne? No, because it's a parable, and in the parable you see that it's a wonder in heaven that gives birth to the man-child, which they say it's Jesus, and I say that it's the Antichrist. The wonder gives birth to the Antichrist. Mary, Virgin Mary, not a wonder, gives birth to Jesus. This is my answer. The great wonder in heaven gives birth to the Antichrist, and the Virgin Mary gave birth to the Jesus. This is my answer. This is my argument. I hope it's clear enough. The use of the two dots punctuation there, a man-child, you see I skipped the part and she brought forth, because it's to reveal the meaning of the parable and why the use of the two dots punctuation. A man-child who was to rule a nation with a rod of iron. Remember that the Antichrist will copy Jesus. He will copy also the scripture, what is written, but he won't achieve it, because God is going to